You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I thought there was going to be like a new one every break. I was so excited.
You want more, Hal? We'll give you more. Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. Booyah!
So, I mean, somebody is cleaning house, towards the I guess the legal issues this fall. They're going to be coming to the Trump organization, the family, Trump himself, the people in his circle. Not only has, Rudy Giuliani not been paid, and nor is he going to be. Trump is totally hanging him out to dry.
That's so amazing.
Not a.
And look, and theoretically, they all did all of this for money.
Of course, yes. I mean, they money and power. And in the case, Rudy Giuliani post 9/11 was having he had this international security firm that he would go and advise other countries on dealing with terroristic threats, right? Yeah. Speak at these big dinners. Racket. Oh, it's a huge racket, especially for the dude whose brilliant idea after the first bombing of the World Trade Centers was to move the emergency response headquarters into the World Trade Centers. You don't. You basically, you just you go for a hunt for the least likely target in the city. You just find a hot dog cart in Harlem or someplace on the Upper West Side where it's all art dealers and weirdos, and the terrorists over there looking at their map going, we must destroy this place and this place. I know those people are weird. I don't want to go anywhere. They can have it. This place over here, right? That place has great food. I'm not going to blow up that area because if we go there, there's a restaurant I read about on Yelp that I want to try. But with the rest of this, we will blow to smithereens. Oh, interesting. They have put their emergency response center right in the center of our bullseye. How brilliant. And that dude is telling us that our elections are fraudulent and Mickey Mouse voted and 30 people were copy voted, even though there's no, it's none of it works out. None of it ever works out. And like I said, everywhere they go, they're going to find more votes for Biden and fewer for Trump, because anywhere there was a Republican who could throw out some mail-in ballots, they were going to throw them out willy-nilly for just signatures, because they knew the vast majority of them will be Democratic votes. And then they'll take them, they'll cure them and go, did you really mail this? And people go, yeah, I did actually. I got it out on the Thursday beforehand. It got there. I got a notification. It arrived. I thought it was counted. And then I didn't get it counted vote, as a vote text or anything. And I found that weird. Well, it does now. It's going into the record that you voted in 2020. That's how it's going to happen. Every state they go to, every single one. And more so in the red states. Will it overtake the red states? No. But there will be more of those votes, just like in Pennsylvania, there were red counties where legit Republican voters who voted by mail were having their votes thrown out. They were the only two people who filed a lawsuit that, Giuliani and them basically represented them against the state of Pennsylvania in. That lawsuit was two Republicans who tried to vote by mail, and their vote was thrown out because it was a Republican county, and they were throwing out any reason they could possibly find. They were all like signature experts all of a sudden. They're like, that A doesn't look like the first A. This person's clearly, this is a stamp, right? And they would just throw it out. They wouldn't give it a second glance. And even the Democrats in those areas, they have to live with those folks. So they're like, oh, whatever, it's fine. We're not going to win this county. And they just assumed it. So you could shave votes everywhere. So when they go back and do a recount, when they do this one in Texas, when they do when they did the one in Idaho, they found more Biden votes there as well that were disqualified that should not have been. That's the Republican Secretary of State. That's the Republicans who were working there. Because people on the ground were just like, let's just throw out as many mail-in votes as we can, because they're all going to be Biden. Trump's telling everybody to vote in person, and anybody who votes by mail, just assume it's a Democrat, and you'll be 80% right. 8 out of 10 times, you'll be throwing out a Biden vote. All over the place. So, yeah. So, Sidney Powell, obviously, we learned not only that Rudy Giuliani is persona non grata at all of Trump's properties, so is Sidney Powell. Neither of them can go on.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. She has now been told, she's one of these folks that apparently, this is fascinating. Her problems right now do not need to be the former president's problems, one knowledgeable source said. Being Sidney Powell is harder than it used to be. This is from the Daily Beast. Once she was a key player in Donald Trump's inner circle, these days she might have trouble just getting in the front door. The Kraken Queen long ago removed herself from acceptability among the more respectable GOP circles with a constant stream of bizarre election conspiracy theories and lawsuits, by the way, that are, had 3 misspelled words on the cover page. But knowledgeable sources tell the Daily Beast that the places she's unwelcome now include Trump properties, where advisors look to keep the former president away from her. Her unrelenting antics. How much you want to bet? Okay, this is interesting. This, where advisors look to keep the former president away from her. Does that sound like Trump is saying, keep her away from me? Or does that sound like a bunch of people around him going, Grandpa's brain is porous, and this woman is here with a can of spackle. She's going to spackle the holes in his brain with Nutella. She's like here, he's going to believe whatever she says. Same thing with Rudy.
Yeah.
He didn't want to see Rudy because he thinks Rudy's a loser. But he might see Sidney Powell if she keeps filling his head with there's a chance. So the advisors are like, keep stiff-arming her at all these places. And then we find out this week that Corey Lewandowski has been broomed. This is let's see, like a bad breath. Corey Lewandowski keeps coming back, but he might have finally worn out his welcome in Trump world for good. According to allegations reported in Politico, the wife of a Republican donor claimed that Lewandowski repeatedly touched her, including her leg and buttocks, spoke to her in sexually graphic terms, and stalked her throughout the evening. Oh yeah, he also allegedly remarked on the size of his genitalia, described his sexual performance, and showed her his hotel room key.
Okay.
Ooh. The alleged incident cost Lewandowski his role running a Trump super PAC, as well as his role in advising South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. Now, there's all this rumor floating around that he and Noem were having an affair, and she's had to push back against that. While this new scandal's come out for Kristi Noem that she got her daughter front of the line for a real estate license, manipulated regulators to get her a sweet move. But they're using the unwanted sexual advances thing for Lewandowski. One would think that would make him a key player in a Trump organization.
Yeah, that's how you work your way up the ladder.
Honest to God, he sounds like Trump org's version of HR. Welcome to your sexual harassment seminar. I'm your HR representative, Corey Lewandowski. Okay, stand up, bend over. All right, this is, he's exactly who they would hire. I mean, honestly, the more you read this, the creepier it gets, and the more Lewandowski just sounds like somebody that Trump would love to shoot the crap with, right? Yeah. And the woman who spoke about it on the evening of September 26th in Las Vegas, Nevada, I attended a dinner to support a charity and spend time with wonderful friends, Odom said in a statement to Politico. He repeatedly touched me inappropriately, said violent, disgusting things to me, stalked me, made me feel violated and fearful. I'm coming forward because he needs to be held accountable, Odom continued. I'm blessed to have a loving husband and family behind me. I want other women to know that you can be heard too, and together we can stop terrible things like this from happening. Lewandowski, who did not respond to multiple requests for comment, was surprising. Let's see. Yeah, Pam Bondi was the one to give him the push. Corey Lewandowski will be going on to other endeavors, and we very much want to thank him for his service. He will no longer be associated with Trump World.
Yeah, Trump World is
That's
an awful name for an amusement park.
That is, absolutely. Every ride is shaky. Basically you just take Pervitin and lay in a dark room and then it just flashes fake news. It's the fastest dropping roller coaster in the world. There's a roller coaster that's his election loss. It starts, it click, clack, click, clack, clicks up the November 3rd, and then which isn't very high, but then in November 4th, they count all the rest of the votes. So it's really scary. It's one of the best rides in the park or whatever. And then of course, the hair wheel, which is really odd. It's one of those spinning things, but you're just basically in a nest of yellow hair. Trump World is awful. We'll talk about the snacks when we come back. We're at the news already. It's the House Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more. Johnny Million. Don't forget to follow Johnny on Twitter. Johnny Million 1, the number one, because he's number one in my book. And follow me at Hal Sparks on Twitter because I'm a branding genius. We'll be back. So, oh man, yeah. It's, this story, we Johnny and I were looking during the break. We're going to talk about the real audits from realaudits.org of the Cyber Ninjas audit, and where they go through their numbers and compare it to the original count and all that stuff. And it's just hilarious. These guys are, they're rudimentarily charming guys that the audit, the audit guys or whatever, they've got a pedestrian sense of humor, but it's there. You know what I mean? They're not afraid to put it in their reports. And but on the Lewandowski front, or I guess we should call him Ludendowski now.
Oh, yes.
He apparently just it was a fundraiser. That's why. If he'd have groped someone anywhere else, I doubt they would have cared. But they were raising money. And this is a donor's wife. I think it might be her money, so maybe both. But either way, they both make the decision. Let's assume, for equality's sake, that they're both the donors. And because it doesn't really go into it. And he groped this woman, and she's pushing back, and her husband's outraged, and they're mad, and as they should be. But they're not going to donate to this organization anymore. They're not going to give any Save America PAC money, period. That's dead now. That's done. It's not going to happen. So they go, there's a little bit of backstory on Lewandowski in this article. And it's a little piece that I was not made aware of back when he was grabbing reporters by the arms and, and allegedly.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yes, right.
When he ushered that person away.
Yes. So, right. I mean, during that, this would have been maybe relevant because he worked for Senator Bob Smith's 2002 reelection bid in New Hampshire. And in the interest of the person writing the article, I guess, in the interest of full disclosure, during this time, he briefly became my wife's boss. She was already working as a fundraising consultant for Smith and left soon after Lewandowski was hired. So basically, he was just brought in, then she left. Lewandowski, she tells me, insisted on being called the Hammer, even though that was Tom DeLay's nickname, if you'll recall. He didn't make any advances, though she recalls once being inside his apartment where the decor consisted of 2 lawn chairs and stacks of porn magazines. She left the apartment and the campaign shortly after that. This is a dude who ran a presidential campaign for Trump. And now it's all starting to make sense. Because we look at all the people that Trump hires and we're like, why that guy? Well, this. I'm if he visited Lewandowski,
because they're the best person.
Yeah, absolutely. Hashtag the best people. Just walking over, going, "Sweet digs. Which one's my pile? I get the big lawn chair, right?" Patrick Bateman, right? This overall, I mean, he's been rude and he yells at people and whatever and yada yada, and hostile workforce. I'm sorry, folks, but hostile workplace accusations in a Republican campaign don't hold water because you joined that party, you joined that system. Yeah. You know that's what they believe. You know that denigrating people and false hierarchies, the assertion of hierarchy instead of the earned hierarchy, is literally the driving force of the Republican Party currently. I mean, they Peter Principled their president right into the White House. There's nothing in Trump's.
They nickname themselves.
Yes, they do. Yeah, you can't. That's a good sign. So yeah,
it's a classic sociopath move is insisting on a nickname.
Right. And that's why I've never been successful with a nickname. My name's short to start with, so that kind of, but I, toyed with the idea. Like I said, some people have a hard time pronouncing Hal. They have a foreign accent. So H, or just calling me Sparks. And
sure.
Right, for their part, and I just couldn't follow through with it. It seems so contrived. It's like calling it's like saying, that's how Hal Sparks feels about Hal Sparks. I mean, you're asking me a Hal Sparks kind of a question. I'm a Hal Sparksy Sparks.
Hal Sparks
I'm an Hal Sparks.
Hal
Yeah,
Sparks.
right. How does Hal Sparks deal with this guy? You're asking me right now. what would Hal Sparks do in this situation? And being Hal Sparks, I'll give you the most Hal Sparksian answer. Like that always, that's what it feels like to me. Just suggesting somebody just say, hey, just call me Sparks if it's hard. Like even that seems like, ugh, you know, but these guys call me the Hammer. Shut up. Shut up.
No, I insist.
I insist. Shut up. Pro-Trump singer Joy Villa filed a police report saying Lewandowski sexually assaulted her at a party taking place at Trump International Hotel in D.C., among other things. Villa alleged Lewandowski smacked her on the backside really hard, almost violent in nature. Lewandowski's behavior did not dampen Villa's support for Trump, as recently last year she appeared at the Grammy Awards wearing a pro-Trump dress. Take that, AOC, is what it said. Well, I guess she did, because Trump lost and AOC was at the Met wearing a Tax the Rich dress. So I guess she did. All right. Well, I didn't realize there was that much quid pro quo going on in the music community for the rest of us. This raises the obvious question, like, why is Lewandowski finally being held accountable now? The answer is obvious. As Maggie Haberman explained in the New York Times, aides to Mr. Trump insist that the latest incident is different, particularly because it involves a donor to the former president. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. There is no moral there. There is no point where they're not okay with this kind of behavior towards women, or the denigration of employees, or insulting behavior, or actual acts of violence, you know, however minor they may be. None of those folks, you know, mattered. None of that activity mattered. What mattered? It's a donor. She's giving money, and now they're not going to give the money anymore. You mess with the money train. This is it. The unpardonable sin is doing anything that Trump perceives as taking liberties with whatever is perceived to be Trump's domain, which is the money. That's why, say, grabbing a reporter, refusing to pay child support won't get you banished, but denying Trump's big lie will. That's why Trump donors exist in the do not grope zone. As never Trump conservative Charlie Sykes put it, quote, asses may be grabbed and thighs fondled, but the donor class shall not be molested. The megaverse has standards. The megaverse has standards. And that's what it is. And ultimately, what do you think was Rudy's biggest crime? Or even Sidney Powell's biggest crime? Besides, I mean, they couldn't, technically speaking, they couldn't win their lawsuits. There was no there. So let's just put that aside, that they were failed and they lost. What was...
So like their real crime or their crime in Trump world?
They're in Trump world. What was their biggest crime in Trump world? Anybody want?
They couldn't deliver. Like if they lied to him and said,
worse. It's worse. I can make this happen. It's worse than that. People like on the Daily Chat might know, what's the crime you can't commit around Trump? Yeah, Victoria Sanders is the quickest to it, but looking foolish, embarrassing him. Now, what? Now, 13 service members were killed in the evacuation of personnel and Afghans and military members from Afghanistan. 13. Last night, I showed a clip on my live stream of Trump on Flashpoint saying 12. Nobody knows why he shaved off a number. It seems very odd. It may be, a brain fart, but he never corrected it. Nobody corrected him, by the way. Nobody jumped in with 13. And it's okay if that happens, because you might have been thinking about something else and somebody asked you a question and you're like 12 and you're like, did I say 12? I mean 13. And that's how it works. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem the way Trump addresses the Afghan withdrawal is not about the deaths of those people. It's not about the vetting of people or the lack of vetting, which is the complaints that a lot of right-wing people have about Afghans coming here. It's the biggest embarrassment in our country's history. That's what he keeps saying. It's the biggest embarrassment in our country's history. It is by no means the biggest embarrassment in our country's history. That is an absurdity beyond measure, especially from the guy who sold beef, corn, and soybeans to the Chinese while accusing them of sending a bioweapon over while it killed, at that point, 600,000 Americans. I mean, it's absurd. It's silly. So, what's the biggest crime you can commit in Trump world? Embarrassing him. Being embarrassing. Yeah. And that's why Rudy got the boot. Rudy sweating motor oil, during that thing had nothing to do with what he was talking about. Nothing at all. Rudy became an embarrassment. It was embarrassing on a visual level, on a TV level. Trump can take embarrassment that you can't see, that you have to look up in an appendix, right? Oh yeah, he did lose more money in New York real estate than any person in New York's history the same year he wrote Art of the Deal. That's something you can look up on paper, but he's never on tape saying it. That nobody walked up to him at a book signing and went, "Congratulations on your new book. You do realize you just lost more money." Like it's not visual. So he's not afraid of those kind of embarrassments. He feels like he talked his way out of it. Sidney Powell was an embarrassment. It was typos. It was her misspelling of words. Not her stupid ideas, not the insanity of it, but just misspelling certain words on her filings. And they got out in the news and people could show it. It's visual. Anything there's a visual representation of, that's what scares him. And you got to go. Because it's going to cost him money and it's embarrassing. And that's why he will say the Afghan withdrawal is the most embarrassing thing. That's the most embarrassing thing. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all the while, he's lessening the death count of our own service people just via brain fart. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. The infrastructure bill and the recon bill, the reconciliation bill, obviously hit snags this week, and a deal is going to be made to pare down the reconciliation bill, which is what everybody believed all along. And both bills passing will absolutely happen, and the resulting two bills will be no different than had the first one passed and the other one gone through the process, or they both went together. They're going to be the same size. We'll be back.